Okay. Share screen. Huh, interesting. So we are live, and in this video, we are going to create this stripe layout. It uses auto layout, which is pretty good. And I thought instead of me editing the video and cutting it, I just want to see how long it's gonna take to design something similar in Figma. Mostly the table portion, because table is a bit difficult to replicate in Figma. So let's see if we can get this started. I also want to share this live stream on LinkedIn to see if anyone wants to ask any auto layout questions. If anyone wants to ask any Figma questions, I'm recording a live stream now. Okay. Feel free to join. I'm recording a live stream now. Okay. Let's post this. And also all the eligible courses, Figma, auto layout, live stream. There we go. Perfect. So okay. Let's send this. I think it should be good. Okay. Figma auto layout live stream. Okay. So yeah, if anyone has any auto layout questions, let me know. But I think we should be good to go without further delay. We can start with this live stream. So if you want to create like an table in Figma, the first thing you need to do is start with a table cell. And here, and let me just hide everything. And what I see here, we have really tiny cells. And let me just press I on my keyboard and grab the hex code of this. This would be our first table cell. I think they are using maybe, let's see, like 40. Let's go with 40% as our color. And I always go with creating um, a fill right away. So here I have 40, and this would be the text color that I'm going to use. And for the border, I'm pretty sure they are using a very light color, a 94. So I'll go with 94 for the border. So here on the HSL, I'm going to go with 94 as the border. Let's go with 94. There we go. So here we have the 94, we have the 40, and let's go and create the first one. So the first one is admin fee. And this admin fee, Shift and A, I'm going to create an auto layout. Also, what I can do is enable keyboard shortcuts. There we go. Okay. So here I use Keycaster, and like anytime that I add a shortcut, you will be able to see it on the bottom left side of the screen. So the first thing is I'm gonna ungroup that. So Shift and A, that's the first shortcut. I added the auto layout, and then since we're gonna repeat this a lot, it's better instead of having it as admin fee, we just cut it, create a component page, paste it here, and call this table cell. And then here, because we want to repeat that, we're going to use the color. So it's better to go with white color for the background. For the text color, let's go with the one that we just created. And we want to add border bottom. So border bottom, we'll add it here. And we add this color, which is 94. So we are replicating the table cell with a border bottom, and the table header has a darker color. So let's just also see what color Stripe is using. I think it's using 27. Let's take a look at this. It's using 14 to 15. Let's go with 15. And let's also create that. It's 15. Since we're adding colors, I would shift and basically click to create a folder, call this gray. And now if I go back to my table cell, I have my table cell, which is good. So I would create a component, and I would add another variant. So this one, I would change it to 15. I'll make it a little bit bolder, like semi bold. So that would be the header, and that would be table cell, and that would be the actual table cell. But what you notice is if we want to add components here, we are using text, which is good, but sometimes we want to use different elements. Like in this example, we want to use a badge. So if we want to use a badge, we really can't create like a text element, because if I create a text element and now I try to change this, yeah, that looks good, and I can change it to the table header, which is good, but I really can't swap my text element here. So what I need to do is bring this text element out and create a component out of this, and then call this table text. And by doing that, now I have like a table text, and I can drag an instance out, cut this, and select both of these and replace this. So now this one, I have now the ability to type and use it the way I want. And I can also select and swap the instance. So I have now both abilities. So that gives me flexibility to create a badge like this and swap it if I need to. And then in this example, if I try to type it, it grows. I don't want that. I want this to be filled. So I would click the, let me call this label, and I would make it auto layout first of all. So Shift and A, make it auto layout. Click this one. Instead of hug, I want it to be fill, and I want this to stretch, and this one to be fill. So this way, if I try to make the table smaller, it would wrap. Now within my table component, I can select both of the instances, which is table text instance, make both of them fill, and there we go. So now I have my table cell created. And in order for me to create a badge, it's pretty simple. All I need to do is create like a failed, success, and incomplete. So I need to grab the colors. So the first one is this one, and I would create I would call this error BG. Also here, it's also better to call these by the name. Like I use this for the border, I use this for the text, and I use this for heading. And then this one, we have red. I use this for the background error, or let's call this error. It's better. And then that would be the error BG. And I press I would zoom in, and now I would use this for the text. And then I would drag this inside. So we have error BG, error text. Let's do a success too. So let's grab the background of success, call this BG. Also, let's grab the actual text. There we go. Create a style out of it, call this text as well. And now we have BG and text again. So let's group them, call them success. And then we have incomplete. We have a BG of incomplete. So let's just go ahead and call this BG. And let's create the text. There we go. And then call this text. So we have a BG and we have a text. So that would be for incomplete. So let's just call this incomplete. So we have our badges and our statuses, the table colors and everything. I think we are in a good shape to create the table. So now what we need to do is to create like a badge like that. And we need what? 3 icons, X, check mark, and like a timer. So I use symbols, the material symbol. I search for the check. So that's the first icon. I search for close. Yeah, I'm going to use the X, which is good. I think I need to click outside and add check because it replaced the previous one. And then time. So I will try to use the time like this one, incomplete. So I have my icons, which is great. So in order for me to also clean up my icon, it groups them and it adds a rounding box, which is not nice. So what I need to do is select Command Shift G to group. But before that, I need to add a frame. So here I would just Shift and A, auto layout all these 3 elements, remove the background, press return on my keyboard, and now you see that bounding is removed. So these would be the icons. And now I create a component out of them, cut them, paste them here. And the good thing about making the table text, so here let's call this table text. Since the table text is a component, I can now select my table cell and then select the text, and I can swap it with an icon if I need to. And this way, like right now, you see the icon is not working well, which is fine. We can always fix it with auto layout, but this allows me to swap. So this I have again ability to swap my table. So this is good. We have the table. Now we need to create our badges. So if I go back to my Stripe table, I need to create a failed, success, and incomplete. So what I would do is just duplicate this, detach. Let's call this success. And for this one, since we're using auto layout, I would just use like 4 pixels around, not much. And in terms of like radius, I'll use 4. And I don't want it to be fixed. Definitely, I want it to be hug, and I want this to be hug too. Now, since I added the colors previously, I can now add the background, select the text, and add the text. So we have our, let's call this badge. So we have our success badge created. What we can do is now create a component, add another variant. So let's just move these to the top, place the badge here. We now change this again. I can call this actually label. So here, the good thing about using a text property, what you can do is select both of these, hover over them, use a text property called label, and the label lets you swap your variants easily. So here I would call this label. And the first one I will call the property success. The other one I'll call this like failed. And then finally we have incomplete. So now all I need to do is update the color. That's for the incomplete. That's for the error, which is good. And if I now take a look at the label, I can just type in success and then choose failed, and the color and everything gets updated. Now, what I need to do is add the icon within the label. So here for the success, I'm going to use a check. So I'm going to cut that, paste inside. And you see, it is a bit large, so we can reduce the icon size. So let's just move these here. We have the failed. Let's place the failed, and we have the incomplete. Let's place that. There we go. And of course, I need to override the color. And also, before overriding the color, I want to make sure to rename the components properly. So here we have the icons, and now I rename the layers to Victor. And now the success, I need to select all these three. And I think 24 is big, so I click K, and now I'd reduce it to 16, which I think looks better. And I would select all of them. Since this is auto layout, I would reduce the gap from 10 to maybe 4. And also just override the color. So this is the text, this is the error, and this is the incomplete. So now if I go back to the table and I paste this, so we have the success created, and the failed. So this is the failed one. We have the success. So we need to change it to success, and then incomplete. We would change it to incomplete. There we go. So we have these badges created, which is nice. I can paste them here. I just need to increase the font from regular to semi bold. So that looks better. And now I have the table cell, and this one, we have a table text. So what I need to do right now is select my table text, which is no longer a text layer. It is actually an instance, and I swap it with the badge. And here you see we have the badge added. And then I make sure the badge is set to hug and is set to align left. So now for my table cell, I can give it a property of type. The first type is text. The second type is badge. And I can have another one. So I can just duplicate that and then call this icon. And the icon is basically swapping, just having an icon. And that's it, like a standalone icon. Because down the line, I might want to have the checkbox. So here, I can go to the icons again, material symbol, search for checkbox, add it. And if I now take a look at the checkbox, let's rename this to checkbox. There we go. And then also I want to recolor them to like text. There we go. Now I have the icon. So what happens is if I bring the table cell out, I can click the icon and then swap it to checkbox. And there we go. I have my checkbox created for me. So everything is ready. One final thing I need to add is the header. So here I would create another variant. So table text, and then I would have this as, again, let's call this label, and let's call this label 2. And then I will have this again as semi bold and heading. There we go. And now when I click the actual table cell, and let's just call this like text, and then this is the table cell, since I have these nested components, what I can do is expose them. So here, the table cell, I would go to the plus, and now I would expose nested instance, I would expose the text, and I would expose the badge. And there we go. So now here I have the icon. You see everything is hidden. So as soon as I go to badge, I have properties of the badge. So here for the badge, I can also rename this to type, or you can call this like theme. And if I switch it to text, now I have the text field updated. So also for the text field, I can call this type. The first one is like a paragraph type, and the other one is a heading type. So right now we have the label. I can switch it to badge. We have the theme and label. I can switch it to icon and definitely change the icon if I want to. In this example, I want to go with checkbox. And I have like my table cell component created, and it is pretty complex. So we started with like multi-layer nested components. So the first one is an icon, which we created a component out of all the icons. We also rename all of the layers to vector, which is good. And then we went one layer deeper, which means we created the badges. And then each badge, we nested an instance, and then we created text properties. And also all of these are linked to the styles that we created on Spot. We created a text component. One of them is a paragraph, the other one is a heading. And then finally, we have our bigger component, which is a table cell. So a table cell can contain a text, can contain a badge, and can contain just a single icon. So we have all of this. Now I can cut this and finally add, the table cells. So we have amount. First of all, we have a checkbox. Let's just go ahead and add the checkbox. Shift and A, create an auto layout. And the auto layout needs to be from left to right because I just want to duplicate them for table cell. And then here, you see now everything is being stretched, which is good. I can actually now um, move these here. The first one, I don't want it to be filled. I don't want this to take all the available space. I only want the first one to take just a little space. So what I would do is select the first one and give it a fixed width, which is 24. In this example, I think 24 is small. Let's just go with hug. What is the size? 44. So I want this to be 44 because it's just a simple checkbox. And the other thing I want to do is remove the space between because we want to create a table cell. And the other ones, I don't want them to be icon type. I want them to be a text type. And then the text type, now when I click each of them, you see we have paragraph. So I just need to change it to heading and then heading. There we go. Also, what you notice is as soon as I do 44 pixels, the alignment is a bit off. This one is off, and we can fix that by adding a min height. So we go back to our table. We can do is you see here the height is 35, the height for here is 44, and for here is 44. So what we can do is select three of them, go to the height and add a min height of 44. There we go. And now the min height is basically allowing us to grow the height of the table. And at the same time, if there is more content, it would wrap to the next line. But what you see is it's not wrapping. So what we need to do is, again, go back to our components, select all of them, and making sure the height is set to hug. So when we do that, I can go back. Now you see the table is wrapped to the next line, which is good. And also what we need to do is now make the icons fill, which is good. And then also make this fill and then call this label. So now if I try to type, you see it grows, which is good. And then also the height grows as well. So that is perfect. So we need to add payment method, description, customer, and date. So payment method, description, customer, and date. So let's use AI to fill these with some data. And then also this one, we call this row because it goes from left to right. I'll have a comment, make responsive landing page in auto layout, please. Sure. I actually have a list. I have something called YouTube ideas. So if I bring the YouTube ideas, I'll add that to the list. I will add make a responsive landing page. I'll add like there's too many topics. So responsive landing page in auto layout. I'll add that and I'll keep that in mind. It's a growing list of yeah, it's just a growing list of to-do list. Perfect. Um, but thank you for the suggestion. I really appreciate it. But for now, we are creating a table using auto layout, which is responsive. And you see the table sizes grow. And we just wanted to use AI to select these. But the first one, let's just give it some context to the AI. So the first one, we would go with payment method. The second one, we go with description. Let's go with product description. Third one, we would go with customer and then date. And I think that's it. We can go with dispute amount. So we have this row created, and what we need to do is also let's do amount as well. Another one, since we're using auto layout. Since we have the row created, I do a shift and A, another auto layout, and then I would change the direction from top to bottom. And I'll again make sure everything is set to 0 in terms of spacing. And then here we have the table and we have the row. And now I need to hold command and do duplicate, command D, command D, command D. And here the AI, again, it tries its best to replace the content. But before I command D that, I need to select these and I need to change them to a normal paragraph text because these will be paragraphs. They wouldn't be heading because heading style is a bit different. So I'm going to change this to paragraph. And then here, what we can do is add another one, which is status. There we go. Let's call this status. And the status, I don't want this to be paragraph. I want this to be a badge. There we go. And then we can change the badge as we go, like the status, whether it's going to be failed, success. And yeah, we have our table ready. So let's just go ahead and duplicate this. Let's click replace content, which is good. Um, Let me just duplicate that multiple times. And what I need to do is now select all of them using the AI to replace the content. So here, let's type and replace content. Select a stack of repeating frames. I just selected a stack of repeating frames. Uh, oh yeah, there we go. So I would select one, which is the row, which is perfect. And now I click replace content. I mean, it didn't do a great job of replacing it, so I'm going to. I think this one it did a great job of replacing it, but it really, when I clicked date, it really didn't give me a nice date. I mean, it gave me dates here. It just didn't give me, the content that I was looking for. So let's click replace content. Okay. Hmm, not bad. So actually, replace as I duplicated, it just replaced a few content for me. And these are not like the status AI really didn't do a great job of replacing this. So I will just randomly select couple. In this example, I will go ahead and then here, if you're wondering, I'm using an enter on my keyboard to go one level deep and tab, and I'm using enter. And then here, I would just deselect couple, and then I would change this to failed, and then I would change this to failed. And then I would just select maybe two, and then have these two badges as incomplete. I'll just change this to incomplete. And then finally, have these two as success. There we go. We managed to create in how many minutes? 32 minutes. Not bad. A responsive auto layout table. And then here, because we're using AI, we can just simply duplicate it. And there we go. It automatically, wow, it just based on whatever we assigned, which is failed, success, failed, and the amount and the credit cards and the product description, it keeps on generating content as we just drag it, which is pretty nice. And if we try to resize this, it will resize accordingly. It would stretch 1400. And now if I bring it smaller, you see that it actually wraps. So it's hug, it wraps. So here, what we did is we made it fill, and then we added a minimum height of 44. Because if you do add hug, it will make it grow. Like in this example, hug is good. It will make it grow, but you see, it will create the inconsistent border. So that's why we needed to select all the table cells, have a min height of 44 pixels, and have a fill container on the height side. And on the width side, it's already set to fill. And that's it. We managed to create a responsive table. So if you're excited, again, you don't want this type of, you want it to be responsive until a certain breakpoint. Like here, I think it should be the breakpoint for us, like 840 pixels. So what we need to do is add a max width of, sorry, min width, sorry, a min width of 840. That's it. So the table, as soon as it reaches 840, it no longer goes to, smaller. So how do we accommodate this being smaller? We need to create another auto layout around this, and then rename this to parent scroll, because let me just move this and then also move that here in the components for our reference. And then this is the demo. So if you take a look at this, if we now add a frame around our layout, let's make it maybe like 95. Perfect. What we can do is make our table, give it a white color. Perfect. So we have our tables created. So this is good. It is responsive. This is 840. That's the breakpoint. Let me let me just make this 1920, which is good. Make this auto layout, add like 96 and maybe just 96. There we go. So we have multiple tables. The first one, like it would, let's say, fill the entire container. So the first one would take whatever available space it has. The second one is the breakpoint, so it doesn't go as smaller. And if we wanted to go smaller, we need to let's call this like our desktop layout. The third one, because it if we want to make this smaller, it's not going to look good. So what we need to do is make this table like a fixed width. In this example, let's go with like 1400. Uh, and then the parent, you see it's empty. So we would just drag the parent, make it like for mobile sizes, like 340 pixels. And guess what? We will add horizontal scrolling. So we go to the prototype and the overflow, we will make it horizontal scrolling. So now if I do shift and shift and space, create a prototype, you see this is our normal table. So I scroll. This is the breakpoint that it reaches. I scroll, and this is the scroll point. But I don't want this behavior. I want it to be resize to 100%. There we go. I wanted this behavior because I do want this to, let me just open it in a new tab. And there we go. So that's the breakpoint that I was mentioning. And that is the horizontal scroll. There we go. Because in a smaller screen, if I now go back instead of desktop, I now change this to mobile. You see, that is the mobile. The other two are not responding well. So now if I go here, you see I can now scroll down. These are not scrollable, but as soon as I reach here in the like smaller screen, I can now scroll it. There we go. So usually when it comes to tables, I know it's not that ideal. Let me know what you think. Do you think they should be scrollable horizontally? If you design for mobile, so here for the desktop, which is like 1920, we can have something like that. For mobile, I can just delete these two and then call this mobile and then have this like 360, and there we go. So for mobile, it will be scrollable. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I thought instead of me recording and editing, I thought it would be good to see how long would it take without like any edits or anything if you decide to create like multiple components, nest them, create text properties, component properties, all of that good stuff that we have been learning in this channel and in our Udemy courses. And we wanted to put all of that together to create a very complex layout because tables, they are complex. And then they have, again, multiple nested instances, components, auto layout, responsive behavior. And if you combine all of them, how long would it take for us to come up with a responsive table that you can swap and reuse? And it took us, 40 minutes, which is pretty good. Yeah, let me know in the comment section if you enjoy live streams. I'll try to do more live streams and I'll cover again topics. We had a response to make a landing page with auto layout, so that is added to the to-do list. So if you have any suggestions, let us know in the comments down below.